Midweek greetings from us on this platform. Good morning, televiewers of My Media Prime Television, and thank you so much for joining us once again on this other edition of the program. On today's edition, we shall be talking about the decision taken by Secondary Education Minister Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga, reiterating that corporal punishment is banned in all forms of corporal punishment banned within the school milieu. We shall also talk about the reconstruction of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon as stakeholders are planning, or they are in the region, to prioritize the projects for 2023 or the areas that are priorities for 2023. We shall also talk about the elections at the level of Cameroon Medical Council, where President Paul Biya has waded in to solve the problem of the stalemate in that said institution. The elections were supposed to have taken place, but has not taken place as a result of the infighting ongoing at the level of the candidates who are supposed to run for the elections. We shall talk about that in this edition of the program. Amadou Tante is already with us in the studio. He's a human rights defender. We shall be debating or talking about some of those major headlines. Meantime, let's have the headlines in the French language newspapers with Gwladys Bomotonguina. Bonjour Gwladys.
Bonjour Lasha. Bonjour à vous fidèles téléspectateurs de My Media Prime Télévision et merci de nous retrouver pour cette troisième édition de la semaine de débrief, votre émission bilingue de revue de presse. Ce matin, nous débutons avec l'œil du Sahel. L'œil du Sahel nous plonge directement dans la région de la Damawa pour nous parler ici du chantier du barrage du Bini à Ouaka. Le journal nous révèle que ce chantier est donc à l'abandon. Les détails sont en page 6 de l'œil du Sahel ce matin. En page 5, le journal nous parle de Coton Sport de Garoua, la polémique après le transfert de Souaïbou Marou. C'est dans cette édition de l'œil du Sahel. Dans le même journal, en page 2, le journal nous parle de l'interdiction du fouet à l'école. Les parents et enseignants réagissent donc face à cette décision de Pauline Nalova-Lyonga. En page 4, toujours de l'œil du Sahel, le journal nous parle de la banque BGFI qui s'installe donc à Maroua. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous continuons ce matin avec Mutation Quotidien. Mutation Quotidien nous parle en grand titre des élections dans l'ordre des médecins au Cameroun. Le journal l'intitule en grand titre « C'est grave, docteur » pour parler ici des différents conflits qui sont donc autour de cette élection. L'élection du bourreau est donc l'objet d'un feuilleton à rebondissement qui frise donc le bourbier. Les détails sont en page 5 de Mutation Quotidien ce matin. En page 6, le journal nous parle de la vie qui change donc avec le cacao pour parler de la production de cacao en abondance cette année à Ngoro, Ako Niada et Lembe Yezum, autant pour moi. C'est l'information parue ce matin par Mutation Quotidien. Nous continuons, nous clôturons avec l'info à chaud. L'info à chaud ce matin parle en grand titre de l'expression de l'accent ou bien de l'expression française au Tchad. Le journal nous révèle ce matin que les Tchadiens adoptent donc l'accent camerounais pour s'exprimer en français. C'est le grand titre ce matin de l'info à chaud. En page 3, le journal nous parle des sénatoriales 2023, comment le PCRN se prépare donc face à ces élections. En page 7, le journal nous parle de la lettre rouge. Le journaliste Jean-François Chanon est donc en danger. Dans le même journal, nous clôturons à sa page 6 qui nous parle de la cérémonie de présentation des vœux de nouvel an au MINDEF. Joseph Betty a sûrement prescrit donc engagement et discipline aux forces de défense camerounaises. Mesdames et messieurs, voilà pour vos titres ce matin en langue française. Place à la découverte de ces titres en langue anglaise et c'est avec toi, Lasha.
Thank you, Gwladys Bomotonguina. We kickstart this morning with the Luni English Daily, The Guardian Post. We are talking about the decision of Secondary Education Minister Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga banning corporal punishment, all forms of corporal punishment within the school milieu. Nalova-Lyonga dangles sanctions over perpetrators of corporal punishment in schools. The paper tells us further that the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga, has warned public and private schools and teachers across the country against the use of all forms of corporal punishment on students. The stern warning is contained in a press release signed Monday, January 16, 2023. The release states that schools and teachers who ignore the instruction will be sanctioned accordingly. The decision of the minister comes following an upsurge in the number of cases reported both in government and private schools recently. In the press release, the Minister of Secondary Education reminded school authorities and teachers that the use of corporal punishment is prohibited as per the guidelines of education in Cameroon. She went further to disclose that there exist acceptable and appropriate methods of sanctioning, which she noted are included in the internal rules and regulations of the different schools. She also added that actions will be taken against headstrong schools and teachers who violate the directives or her directives. Get full details in this edition of the said newspaper. We now talk other issues. This time around, we are talking about elections at the level of Cameroon Medical Council. Biya waits into Cameroon Medical Council election style meet. The paper tells us further that the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, has waded into the current stalemate relating to the elections at the Cameroon Medical Council. And of course, the fresh move taken by the head of state follows an indefinite postponement of elections at the body by the Minister of Public Health, Minsante Dr. Manawuda Malashi. Biya's instructions for organizing of elections at the Cameroon Medical Council under calm and a serene atmosphere is contained in a correspondence to the Minister of State, Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Ngongo, addressed to the Secretary General at the Prime Minister's office, a copy of which the Guardian Post newspaper stumbled on. The correspondence dated January 16 had a substance or subject election at the Cameroon Medical Council and was referred to or reference 19/CF/SG/PR. Get full details in this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper. Let's talk about Balikumba subdivision, where the new Youth Council president voiced to empower peers. We are told the exchange was based on his recent election as the new Youth Council president for Balikumba. According to the 31-year-old, projects will be executed in the domains of ICT, youth entrepreneurship, education and agriculture, all in the interest of children from Balikumba subdivision. These, according to the youth president, are intended to promote development and empower the young person in Balikumba subdivision. Get full details in this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper. Let's talk about what the Customs Department has generated in 2022. Customs generates over 897 billion francs CFA in 2022. The revelations were made recently by the Customs Director General of Customs, or Director General of Customs, Fongod Edwin and Navaga, as we are told by the Guardian Post newspaper. This morning, Defense Ministry salutes commitment and the bravery of soldiers. We are told Betis Somo was speaking in Yaoundé during the presentation of New Year wishes by the officials of his ministerial department. The Minister of Defense at the Presidency of the Republic, we are told Joseph Beti Asomo, has hailed the commitment and the bravery of soldiers engaged in various operations nationwide. Get full details on page 2 of this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper. On to the Eagle's Eye. The Eagle's Eye newspaper this morning is focusing on what Honorable Member of Parliament for Balikumba or Ngokitunja South constituency has done. We are told Honorable Mbami Emmanuel meets constituents' urgent needs at due time. The paper tells us further that the Member of Parliament for Ngokitunja South constituency has met the urgent needs of his people once again at due time. Honorable Mbami over the weekend provided solar lamps that have been used to light up the Balikumba hospital, which before his intervention situation. Many in the community said the hospital was engulfed with darkness, and once light falls. And then in this edition, the paper also tells us that he also went ahead to give medical equipment to the Bafanji Health Center in Balinkumbat subdivision. Get full details in this edition of the Eagle's Eyes newspaper, talking about the works of Honorable Mbami Emmanuel, who is of course the MP for Ngokitunja South constituency in the northwest region of Cameroon. On to Municipal Updates newspaper. Municipal Updates is interested this morning in the reconstruction and the development of the northwest region of the country. Development stakeholders set 2023 targets, commit to deliver. This comes shortly after the visit of officials of that presidential plan to the southwest region of Cameroon. They were in Bamenda to strategize with the stakeholders or development stakeholders, as we are told by Municipal Updates newspaper. Get full details in this edition of the set newspaper. We end this morning with a Reporter newspaper. The Reporter this morning is telling us that President Paul Biya has been recognized as the Man of the Year 2022. Get full details of the recognition of President Paul Biya as the Man of the Year 2022 in this edition of the set newspaper. And of course, the Reporter newspaper is also focusing on the controversial Littoral Regional President for the Social Democratic Front Party, Honorable Jean-Michel Ninche. Honorable Ninche, according to the paper, in tight corner as Mushingal Commission gathers storm. We are talking about SDM-NEC reorganization in the littoral region of the country. Education Minister pours to sanction schools enforcing corporal punishment. Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga, in a statement issued recently, warned school authorities as well as teachers to stop using corporal punishment on students in their respective institutions. Thank you for watching Television on My Media Prime. We are back in the studio to continue with our discussions this morning. Amadou Tante is already in the studio with us, and we also expect your calls. You can call us on the number that you see on the screen to tell us what you think about some of the major headlines that newspapers capture this morning in Cameroon. Amadou Tante, good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning once more, Mr. Lasha. Good morning to telespectators on my Media Prime Television. It's always a pleasure, as I used to say, for me to be a guest on your program.
Ok, Gwladys.
Effectivement, nous commençons, Amadou Tante, vous êtes activiste sur les droits de l'homme. Nous commençons avec cette décision de Nalova-Lyonga, en fait une décision qui existait déjà, mais sauf qu'il y a une sanction aujourd'hui qui s'appliquerait aux enseignants qui vont bastonner sur les enfants. Quelle est votre appréhension?
Yeah, let me start first of all by congratulating the Minister of Secondary Education for reminding these teachers that they don't have to inflict corporal punishment on children in school. Because let me start by saying here that the Cameroon is one of African Union countries, African countries that have ratified the African Charter on the welfare, on the rights and the welfare of the children, among many other human rights. Because the children has rights to be free from violence. They have right to be free from cruel, inhuman, or degrading or any sort of punishment. So, on no reason should a child be inflicted punishment, be it for whatsoever reason in school or the other. Because what is there is that if a child is doing something that the teacher might think is not right, there's another way of punishing a child apart from inflicting any pains or violence on the child. Because sometimes when we realize that every day we keep hearing that the children keep going on attacking teachers, some of these attacks are coming as a result of violence. That maybe the teacher had inflicted violence on the child or has inflicted any pains on the child, and the child decided to retaliate. Because we know that violence always begot violence.
C'est une justification pour les élèves de peut-être taper sur leur enseignant, bien poignarder leur enseignant.
No, that's why I'm saying that violence begot violence. It's very obvious that sometimes some of the children might be attacking teachers because of the violence or the humiliating acts. Because sometimes, apart from inflicting violence, the child can equally humiliate a child in the classroom. Sometimes you realize that there are some teachers that you see a child will be unable to answer a question in class. It is, instead of correcting the child will use an abusive or a humiliating way of correcting the child. But that one will frustrate the child instead. The child will not be able to concentrate when the particular child is teaching, and it might lead to any other thing.
Là, il ne s'agit pas d'une violence physique, il s'agit d'une violence morale.
Actually, that's what I'm saying. That was a moral violence. Since the child will not have any way to report, or it will not be possible for the child to report the teacher anywhere for the child to be treated as such, then the child might decide to do whatsoever we do with the child. But what is clear is that corporal punishment is a crime. By the Cameroon Penal Code and international law, it's a crime.
When you look at the trends and look at how children behave nowadays, is it possible for a teacher to execute his or her task without necessarily using a whip or other forms of corporal punishment on the children? Is it possible in our Cameroon of today?
Yeah, but let me say it is very, very possible for the teacher to bring up the child in perfectly without any sign of corporal punishment. What is there is that the child, you must not use force on a child or violence on the child before the child learns. Because for somebody like me, if you use violence on me or humiliate me, I will never learn. I will feel like you traumatize me. There's a way of correcting a child apart from using violence. Use a polite way of correcting a child instead of inflicting violence. And maybe let me say that moral way or simple way of correcting a child does not even end within the level of the teacher. We, the parents, will have a greater role to play because it's not the teacher that have to treat our children or then our children the way they children to behave in society. We too have to make sure that we bring our children in a very moral way, make them to understand life, make them to know the negative effects associated to violence or using force.
Il y a des parents qui vont vous dire qu'ils ont tout essayé, ils ont tellement tout fait pour que leurs enfants soient bien éduqués, mais il y a un certain nombre qui sortent toujours autrement.
No, what I know is that, especially with regard to the moral upbringing of the child, it is the responsibility of the parents. It's not even the responsibility of the teacher. Because when you say that when you send us to school, especially with the kind of educational system we have in Cameroon, we send us to only go and learn. When you are learning geography, learn geography there. They don't learn all in school how to behave. Most often, even this thing, something like religion. Religion is something that we know that is equally very important for moral lesson. But in school, in Cameroon here, they don't consider religion as a subject because we realize that in almost every level, when you pass or 4 parts of religion, it's obvious that you have failed because it's very clear that you have failed because religion is very really recognized. You cannot use that of religion to go to the second cycle.
Pourquoi est-ce que cela n'est pas reconnu au Cameroun?
That's a very big problem. That's why we are advocating that it's preferable for the government of Cameroon to either remove religion from the from curriculum or let religion has the same value like any other subject. Because religious studies is very, very important. Very important. Even for those who do not believe in the existence of God, it's very important because bring the children in a very good moral way. So those are some of the things that are very, very important in our community, and the government need to think about it and see what we should do concerning this issue of religion and moral lesson.
Ok, et selon vous, Amadou Tante, la sanction qui est appliquée sur les enseignants au jour d'aujourd'hui, selon Nalova Lyonga, est-ce que ce n'est pas un peu exagéré?
No, the issue is that even though I have not listened clearly what the sanction that the minister made.
The minister warned them, and the minister just said there are laid down rules. Okay. Yes. Internal rules and regulations as per any those institutions, be it private schools, there are internal rules as per the text of the secondary education ministry in the country. Those schools, they have their means of punishing children, not necessarily using corporal punishment on the children. So Nalova is warning that those schools that will continue doing what she does not want them to do will face the music.
Well, let me say once more again that what Madam Nalova Lyonga is still saying is based on the internal rules and regulations, and the law does not recognize. I want to say it's between the institution because the law, the Cameroon penal law, first of all supersede all these internal rules and regulations. So you cannot, we cannot say that we are.
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name? Where are you calling us from? Please, can you switch off your TV? Switch off your TV set. If not, I will not keep you. Please switch off your TV set. Hello.
Okay, as I was saying, because what the minister is saying is based on the internal rules and regulations, and there's a law. If you torture my child in school, I will sue you to court, and they will follow the Cameroon law. No longer won't go to court. The court will not consider those things they call internal rules and regulations.
So,
what do
international
law supersede all the other internal?
What do you say of a senior divisional officer who walked through the gate of a school, entered, and then molested a teacher?
Those are
up to today, nothing has been done to that senior divisional officer. She was transferred to a different place.
Those are the kind of impunity that we keep talking on a daily basis. That because the way at which the government of Cameroon is treating some citizens, as if some citizens are more important or they are above the law, which should not be the case. At least want everybody to face the music. Because if the senior divisional officer, even the minister, nobody as per se has the right to torture any child, no matter the circumstance. If the child is doing anything that's not correct, or a teacher, they have to take the child, follow the right procedure, and do the right legal procedure.
When you come to a school and you beat a teacher in front of the children, what lesson are you?
No, those are the kind of thing that some of our administrators they don't even have even a little knowledge of moral ground. Because if you are behaving, if you come out to a school and beat the teacher and the student now decide to beat the SDO, what would the SDO do? So the violence, as I said, will keep get violence.
Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning, sir. Your name?
Good morning.
Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from where?
Yes, your contributions, please.
Well, to me, I think the decision made by the minister is the best one. I'm talking about the students, and I believe that some of us were able to achieve a certain goal because of the decision given to us. So I don't know how the question whether it takes coming now or something that was there ever since. Because I don't understand how you say they don't punish students by using a cane. Because some of us with the technical school, and you will not tell us that in as far as you are playing that of the teacher, you will not use the cane that of you have to, because the stress are something else.
Another problem is how do you use the cane? That's the problem now. How do you use it?
Okay, just accepting that the cane should be present in the classroom automatically make a student should be conscious. Yes. So you will not tell me that you expect to use the cane and then you realize students are fighting with each other. Sometimes you didn't have the cane, the child is fighting with you. Then take the cane off. Don't join us.
Thank you for contributing, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
So it's quite a difficult task for teachers. Amadou,
no, I don't think there's any.
You are defending rights, but the situation, when you go to the field and see the situation, it is something that is.
Can you have the patience?
Can you handle it?
No, we don't have any choice. That's why we have to. Each and every one of us has to decide to choose a profession or not. Because for me, someone like me, I'm going to be a teacher. Because for so many reasons, I'm going to be a teacher. So when you have to choose your own profession, when you choose it, you need to succumb to anything that goes with that profession you have choose. So it's not to choose something. Maybe you come tomorrow and say that no, we need to be to inflicting pains on these children. We need to be doing this. The law is very clear. The law is a law as it is. No matter how hard the law it is, it will remain the law. So you cannot start saying that people are saying that it should be like this, it should be like that. Except that maybe they are saying that if you look into the law and repeal the law and change that law to favor to go back to that way, whatever they are saying. We are in modern society today. We cannot be using barbarism to treat children in school. Give them punishment. I used to spend about up to 8 days in school when we were in secondary school. We used to give us up to 8 days punishment. You have to go outside for 8 days and
you dig a trench of 3 meters and you feel it.
Of course. So that one is even more painful than beating the child. And sometimes you might see a child that is sick. You don't know that that child is sick, and you go to whip that child. Unfortunately, the child will fall there and die. Do you think when the parent will take you to court, do you think the government of Cameroon, the minister of Civil Education will come there to defend you, saying that you were trying to do this before the child? But the reason for beating the child is not even important. What is there is that the result of what you have done. You have killed a child, and it's very simple like that. And you will go in for murder.
So how do you handle such issues? You're only talking about if you choose a profession, a situation where the child is in class with a weapon, like a knife, like what we saw from Melon. A child enters a class with a knife or whatever, you discover a knife with the child. What do you do? What do you do?
No, the issue
or
is
a child is about attacking somebody with a knife. You
or attacking even the teacher.
Or even the teacher. You don't use corporal punishment.
No, using corporal punishment, you will not change the fact. Except I want that someone, either you kill the child, or the child will kill you. Because
hello?
Yes, you are using weapon and the child.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, it's Kenta from where again?
Yes.
They say that talking about they should give. I do not know ever what is saying of couple of men that give the child other punishment. You give a child punishment and that child do not do that work. What do? You keep on adding a punishment which will not be done. So I don't think that
in that case, they hand the child to the police. In that case, they take the child to the police.
Because you use it against teacher and nothing will be done to them.
What about taking the child to the police?
Take check the police and something out of school, because from what we know back then, uniform in school, you cannot take it to the police because the child is not from the class. So actually, this is the child in front of the police, let us say when the lesson, while I'm taking the child to the police, where at the end of the day, the child will be using something more wide than that child. So I don't think that it can have any effect. The other one, if I the child to me, when you use it maybe on the face of the side or maybe on the back of the child, but from the hand and the back and the feet, it's up to the child there.
No. Okay.
So this issue, I don't understand how people are saying this, because as I made it very clear.
No, maybe you are looking at it from the prison of
a
right defender.
The law may be very hard, but it remains the law. That is why it's very simple. So it's not because somebody is saying that no, is that method of
so how do you ensure that there is peace and serenity within the school milieu?
No, what I was saying is that we're talking about the issue of weapon, a child bringing, when a child discovers that the child is having a weapon in class. The issue is that we realize that the child is very violent, or the child is using a weapon or whatsoever thing to attack or to inflict pain on somebody. It's very simple. You call they send the child to disciplinary council at the level of that school. And if within that level they are unable to resolve the matter should be handed over to the police, and from there you can continue. There's no reason why
children nowadays bring phones to class. They are watching pornography with their phones.
So those are the kind of things I was saying that we the parents have a greater role to play on this issue. We should not go about blaming the teachers for saying that maybe the child is using pornographic phone or using phone in class, and the problem is we are now giving the problem, the blame now on the teacher, because it's not the problem of the teacher, it's the problem of our home.
Amadou Tante, prenons ce cas, ok? On est peut-être dans un département et le fils du préfet est dans une salle de classe et il fait une bavure. L'enseignant le punit et il refuse d'exécuter la punition. En ce moment-là, qu'est-ce que l'enseignant doit faire?
The teacher should talk to the principal, so that the child will call to the disciplinary council. When the child calls to the disciplinary council...
Yeah, hello. Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, I wanted to shift on a little bit...
Your name. Tell me your name. Where are you calling from? On
the matter of this issue of parents, teachers beating of students.
Where are you calling us from? Your name, please.
I'm in Boya. My name is Simon.
Yes, Simon, go ahead.
Okay, so I want to say that it is very rampant in teachers. Teachers has, like today I didn't have a problem with one teacher. Oh, my child is 4 years, he beats my child almost ate through with a pipe. So we went there today with this gas pipe. We went there today to explain it to the headmaster, and they called the teacher. So you see, what is happening is that many of these teachers are doing out of wickedness, because you have a child for 4 years and you are beating the child like so. It is very painful. So that is what I just wanted to say, that these teachers, the government must try to stop these things. It's very painful. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for calling, Simon.
Ok, Amadou Tante, vous étiez en train d'essayer de répondre.
Yeah, I was trying to say that, the issue of a corporal punishment, the issue is that when a child is in class, it doesn't matter whether the child is the president or the child prime minister or the child whosoever that is. All the children in class are equal, and the teacher has to treat them as you see them equally.
Mais ce qu'on observe souvent, la plupart du temps dans nos établissements, c'est que ces enfants d'autorité sont les plus difficiles à gérer dans les salles de classe.
No, the issue is that as a teacher, you have a rule. The school in general has the internal rules and regulations, and each and every class will make sure that they respect these rules. And if a child goes against that rule, the teacher needs to report the child to the hierarchy.
Et si il reporte et puis rien n'est fait, et que l'enfant continue.
Report the child to the hierarchy, and if the child continues the same thing, and if the teacher sees that maybe it's inconvenient for him to be teaching the child again, the teacher will file a complaint to but within the level of the school, like the principal, after the principal have the sub-divisional and the divisional delegate and all the way up to the ministry. You explain, give them the reason that this is the reason why I'm unable to continue in this class with this child, because this child is making things very difficult. Because sometimes one child may spoil more than 2 or 3 or 4 child like that.
La solution ici, c'est que dans ce cas, l'enseignant démissionne de sa fonction.
No, the teacher should not resign. The first thing I said is that the teacher should do at the level of school. The school should try to manage it. If it's not within level, the school realize they are unable to handle the case. They go to the level of a sub-divisional delegate, and if the sub-divisional delegate cannot handle it, they continue to the divisional delegate up to the ministry in their own day. They will handle the child for you. So not by resigning. Resigning is going ultra-virus. At least was not lost their job because of a single child in class. That's not acceptable.
Okay.
Amadou Tante, President Paul Biya has been voted as Man of the Year 2022.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name, where are you calling us from, madam?
My name is Rayma, from Boya.
Yes. How is Boya this morning?
Oh, Boya is good.
Okay. Corporal punishment.
Talk on this corporal punishment. I think it's really a good step, and there's an advantage and a disadvantage. But when we're going, they're using this corporal punishment. Some teachers were taking advantage of it. Like, it's going to beat you and you think something else. Where on the other hand, it was one of the most because for those who are...
Yeah, please, you are listening to yourself. We can't get what you're saying. Can you switch off whatever device you are using to listen to yourself? Just switch it off, please. Then you move on with your contribution. Hello? The caller is gone. Amadou Tante. This a lady reacting from Boya, supporting the minister. Apparently, women don't always want their children to be beaten by some other person.
Even by their husband.
They tell you that they suffer, they carry in their womb for 9
Of course, in the moral sense of it.
At the end of the day, when the children go away or not, it becomes the problem of the father.
You cannot imagine seeing somebody whipping your child. Even you too, you will not be able to support it. Instead that maybe such thing will be done when you are in the absence. Because even if you were there, you might not be able to support. You will likely end up fighting with the teacher.
Is the problem beating your child or what your child did?
No, the child thing is that if
you first of all have to find out what your child did before.
No, but even if my child did something wrong, you are using the wrong way to correct the child. You will not even look at what my child did. You will just look at the wrong thing you are doing. Because the issue is that if the child did something that's not right, at least I said that you use the right channel, right procedure to correct the child, not by beating or fighting with the child.
Les enfants de cette génération, quand on regarde notre génération, par exemple, nous on a été fouettés, on a été sérieusement battus dans nos salles de classe.
Good morning.
Hello?
Your name? Where are you?
My name is Mr. Emmanuel from Batibo.
Yes, how is Batibo this morning?
No, Batibo is cool, sir.
Okay. We are talking about beating, whipping of children this morning.
Yes, yes. I'm seeing the program now and I'm very happy to participate. I will beg you to permit me to express myself in pidgin so that our mothers in the house will also listen to what I have said. Yes, my problem is that in those our days, when the kid is strong past you for house, na teacher will discipline you. Anglophone system, they beat the kid for school. For make and say, make it no. Say what way it do enough mind. But now our days, even in parents' houses, picking the duty, they don't even beat them, they holler. Now, why would it extend them for schools? They did course teachers them all over. The teacher don't beat picking, teacher don't do this. For me, teacher get the greatest part for help parents and for house.
Don't you think that the problem is how they do it, how they go about applying these forms of corporal punishment? Not necessarily beating the children, but how they do it.
I know. Some cases they do it, you need beating. But when we talk of beating, it don't mean say you will beat them only for some extent. No. Because some of your friends, they don't talk for them concerning, when they report for discipline master, when they do this. Begin the day where teachers they call up, they come. Even for their own houses, and they talk like parents they begin. Last time I take my own, I go to school, I still made them beat them in front of others, made them jump. Because you will touch some man, some rich man it became, or some minister it became. They first send you for prison where you the instant one correct them for the became. I know say charity begins at home, but that home, plenty parents they know that they support the them too.
Okay.
If you see you holler picking for school, or you suspect picking for school, parents come the holler teacher. You know the way you holler teacher in front of your child, that means you they give the right for the child. When you holler, when teacher dismiss picking, or he suspect picking, when you go, when you go, now you go be first person for talk for the picking. Say, what we do not find out? Why would they dismiss you? Or now why would they suspend you? Holler you for make a you say you parent you no like the habit for the picking. It will change. Okay. But when you support the picking in front of teacher, it will talk say it the full right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for contributing. And greetings to everybody watching us in Batibo this morning. Amadou Tante, that is a parent supporting the corporal punishment, beating. That's sometimes he said he took his own child to school one time. Yeah. So the child should be beaten in front of other children.
Yeah, it's true that a child, what I made it very clear is that It's true that we might reason it differently, but the law is very clear on that. That's the simple thing, because the law is a law as it is, not as it ought to be.
But is it all the laws that are good? Are there no bad
No,
laws?
even if there are bad laws. Why is the law is when the law? I say we to look for a way of changing that law. That we pray that the law, that part of the parliament will sit down and see what can we do to change that law. Not that we should be saying that this thing should be done. Everybody, each and everyone can give his or her own opinion on what he or she thinks on the case. But the law remains very clear on it. So that's a simple thing. And so more to that, what he was saying, I've got to realize that even the issue of too much violence in the school media, if we look critically, we realize that within the Anglophone regions and the northern region, those are northern regions, the regions, the three northern regions, we used to think that those are areas where we know very well that Wajo used to work with knives and all the rest. It's very difficult to find some of these children there. It's very difficult. I've not yet heard, maybe to the best of my own knowledge, I've not yet heard that in the northwest and the southwest region and the three northern region, a child has been seen with knife in school, and despite all the violence that's happening in the northern region and all the other side of the region. We have to question ourselves what is happening with this bigger city of the littoral, the west region, the south region, and all the rest. These are some of the questions that we need to be rethinking about it. But those are some of the kind of funny things. Because to me, I know very well that the Anglophone region, they grew most of us well in a very good moral way. Those are some kind of things that like even in the northern region, you know that the Muslims, their own ways of bringing their own children might be different, but it's true that there are always exceptional cases. But we need to keep questioning ourselves of why these issues are always within littoral, say the central region and all the like. So those are the kind of things that I think our people should think about it.
Okay. Before the caller came in, I was asking you, talking about President Paul Biya that has been voted as Man of the Year 2022. What do you have to say?
Well, I say it's a good thing. Congratulations to the President of the Republic for being voted as such. I don't know who voted the President, but it's a good thing. And an elderly person like President Paul Biya should have the right or privilege, or he has the right, the elder person to be voted as anything as such. I would say that this thing is just a mere distraction. Those are other ways of distracting our people from real issues at stake. Because I don't think this thing is not even important. Because from the way we see President Paul Biya, it's true that he's a good father. He has done his best to save Cameroon. At least I keep saying that the President Paul Biya has the right, like any other citizen, to rest. The right to rest is a fundamental human right. There's no exception to that. So the president too has to rest. I think if the president had rested, he would have had much more trophy. Would have given the president so many trophies from at the international level to say that the president of the republic has done a good thing by resigning to make sure that the interests of Cameroon prevail. Cameroon is not a private property.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Your name? Where are you calling us from?
Yes, my name is Mr. Sumsha Arunda. I'm calling from Sudan.
Yes, your contribution.
Okay, sir. I'm very happy because people are talking about the popular movement that now I think is so good. And the guest of the day is my best tight friend, Mr. Tati Amado. I'm very pleased with that.
Thank you.
So, as far as the corporal punishment in schools, I see that the problem is this issue of division, where people say, my child. In those days, there was nothing like my child. A child was
the child of the community.
The child. But now when the child grows up to an age of going to school, it was never my child, it was everybody's child. So the teacher were punishing the student as if the child is his or her own. As well as when the child sees the parent coming, the parent will also do the same. The parent will never support the student in front of the teacher. So when this issue of corporals came in, and the minister, I quite remember it was Minister Mabel who stopped it. It was not welcomed by me personally, because the way he stopped it was not like he went indirectly to see the relationship between the teachers, the people, and the parents. So he just went as if he wanted to support the student. And today, we are seeing the effect of that. We can count the numbers of crimes nowadays. We can count the numbers of teachers being killed and everything that's happening in the society. This is the result of his decision that he took in those days.
Okay. Thank you for contributing. Madu Tante, we talk education again. Parents in Kunki division of that's Banjul in Kunki division of the West region, they have stormed a primary school demanding for answer since the resumption of second term for the academic year 2022-2023, no teachers have been seen giving lectures in class. Those teachers have instead transformed the children into those students fetching water for them, fetching firewood instead of giving them lectures. Parents were so angry that they had to storm that school in Kunki division of the West region. Another rights violation.
No, I'm very happy to hear that the parents have after hearing of all this, the parents decided to storm the school, because they're right. Those are the kind of things that we used to know in Cameroon. Like when we see that something is not going right, we have to mobilize and go out.
But how do you transform people's children into? No, they're fetching for over 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks plus.
Yeah,
now.
2 weeks plus.
No,
they are fetching firewood and water.
No, like, maybe the way you are talking is as if it's strange to you. Maybe you have not heard that before, because we used to mold bricks even in our village.
Mm-hmm. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Your name? Where are you calling us from?
My name is Kuma Peter. I'm calling from Mamenda, my 6th friend.
Okay. Your contribution.
I want to participate in the program concerning corporal punishment.
Okay.
I think when I look at the program, when I look at the decision of the minister, you know, we have to differentiate between the parent and the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing we have to differentiate. The responsibility of the parent, the father's responsibility or the parent's responsibility, and that of the teacher. When you go to the Bible, the book of Proverbs says, when you spare the rod, you spoil the child. And this instruction is directly to the parent. So when parents fail to carry out their responsibility, I don't think it's the teacher to correct it. So at times, when you talk about the rod here from the educator perspective, it has to do with the authority, the symbol of authority of the parent. When it comes to the teacher, they don't have what we call, the rod does not represent the symbol of authority. It's not like corporal punishment should be bad or whatever thing, but who's to exercise that corporal punishment? When parents fail to carry out their responsibility, it does not become the responsibility of the teacher. Because with my own children, I know when to use the rod and when not to use the rod.
But some of your colleagues don't know when and when not to use.
So when the minister says the teacher should not use, well, to an extent, he has some sense in what he's saying. But parents should take back their responsibility.
But the question many people are asking now, is it feasible? Is it feasible? Can knowledge be impacted without the use of cane? Is it possible?
Sure, it can be impacted without the use of rod. It can be impacted.
With the present context,
the children take the responsibility, they play their role fully. You see, the children are a reflex of their homes, sir. They are a reflex of their homes. So it can be impacted without a rod, but let the parent take their responsibility. I think the school should send back the responsibility to the parents.
But sometimes you are not there with the children. The children spend more time with the teachers in school. You only there for some few hours to check on what the children have done. You are not there within the course of the day to see actually the kind of friends that your children interacted with during the day. Sometimes it becomes very difficult to accuse a parent for not taking their responsibility.
What about this? What about holidays? They also spend few time with their children. They don't know their children before they went to school. I think to delegate responsibility does not relieve you from their responsibility.
Okay.
The fact that they are going to school does not relieve the parents from their responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your contribution this morning from Bamenda. Amadou Tante, before the caller came in to contribute on corporal punishment, we were talking about the situation of some pupils in a primary school in Kunki division of the West region, where those teachers have transformed pupils into, house helps. Let me put it that way.
Well, permit me just briefly before I get back to the situation in Kunki, let me say something, make a statement or something concerning what the previous caller was trying to say, because I realized that there are some ways, as I was saying at the beginning, that when you correct a child or correct somebody using some certain types of means, maybe through violence or through humiliation, it would demoralize the child. I'm a good example. Let me tell you that when I was in a law firm here in Douala, working with a lawyer, each time the lawyer, when they give you something to do, when you don't do it well, he started by saying, somebody like you who have been in university, it's very frustrating, it's a disgrace for you. Somebody like, so when he said like that, he keep confusing me. Even when he used to give me something to do, I'll try to do it with pressure, and at the end I'll not do something nice. But when I left there, for example, I'm enjoying this human rights issue. With those, I realize that most of those who are into human rights are people that have been trained mostly by white people. Or someone who have gained knowledge from it at a level, international level. When I went, there are some mistakes that we used to do. When you do mistake, somebody, the people will never correct it by accumulating you. They first of all encourage you very well for your effort and the way you have used in doing these things. They're really encouraging to see that somebody struggling like you did it very well. Even though there's a small mistake that something you did not do it here well. Had it been you this one well, like this, it would have been perfect. So it will instead encourage you. But when somebody corrects you by accumulating you, to make you for frustrate you instead. So those are some of the kind of things. Concerning the other issue in Kunki, I would say that, as I started by saying that those are good parents who knows their rights, because it's a normal thing. If you realize that something is not going well in school, it's good for parents to mobilize, go there to denounce such things, so to see that this issue should be addressed according to the right thing to be done. Because concerning this issue of carrying firewood and all the like, those are the things we used to do in the village. But then our parents never knew their rights, so they would not come to our school.
You still survive. Today
you survive. Carry firewood to this parents, to this teacher's house. They go and catch somebody.
That used to be during manual level. Right?
No, not during manual level. The teacher will go and take a contract to build more bricks. They call us go there and more bricks for that.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Is Mr. Sale talking?
Yes, your contribution, please.
Hello.
Can you move on?
Continue.
We are getting you.
It's Mr. Sale talking from Bamenda. I want to contribute on the issue of corporal punishment. And another point that the brother in the studio highlighted regarding people being used as, slaves for teachers in school. Well, back then when I was growing up, when we were in the primary school, we have done a lot of those kind of works for our teachers back in school.
I myself sitting here, I've done so.
But one thing I want to highlight is that in order to change all these things that are going on, we have to change the system of education, the way it is functioning. That is where the problem begins from, because at times you realize that people who are maybe like at the bottom don't have enough to contribute to change this. And when it begins from the top, you realize that the parents will also be given the room to also play their part very well. Sometimes when a parent wants to control the child, you realize that maybe the child is trying to get back at the parent with notions that are coming from where? From the school. And that's why it becomes very difficult for the parents to execute their own responsibility. So this thing is, a win-win situation on both sides. We have to be playing the roles mutually. It should not be one side tackling the entire issue. Remember, children are a collective responsibility. It's not just one person's responsibility. So let's begin by first of all trying to reform.
So what is the appreciation? What is the appreciation of the minister's recent decision? The decision reinforcing what was already existing. What is your appraisal? Do you really think teachers can execute their duties without necessarily using these forms of corporal punishment?
Well, I believe so. Corporal punishment is not the ultimate solution to kind of bring up a child upright. It's not the first solution. The first solution is, first of all, to impact the knowledge, the previous scholar just said. When you impact the right knowledge, then know that when they understand, their understanding might vary. Yeah, the student understanding always vary. You might be teaching the right thing, others are understanding something different. Therefore, those students now have to be corrected based on the way they are responding. So we have to get that problem of understanding and response mechanism. Without it, I don't see any change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for contributing. Madu Tante, you said you also suffered same fate.
Yes,
almost everybody.
Of course,
they will come and contract you. The big or the old people, they were the ones. Some very weak and small people, they were fetching waters and they're giving it to those big grown-ups to mold the bricks.
Yeah, and we thought that it was a normal thing until when we grew up to know our right, to know that no, we don't have rights. At least,
no, but the school, at least the money at least helped your primary school to be built. Maybe when they do like that, the headmaster takes the money, use it maybe in getting some didactic material.
No, that's a personal money of the
community
headmaster.
schools sometimes in the villages.
No, it's not the headmaster that run a community, whether it's a community school or not. No, that's when the headmaster takes the money, he uses the money to do his things, his personal things, not something that concerns the school. When it's an institution in school, they say the group of people that control.
Mais dans ce cas-ci, malheureusement, c'est apparemment les enfants n'ont pas
but the problem now is that the children were not taking lessons. But we used to do this on Saturdays and other days. But the problem here is they were not giving lessons.
Just the fact you realize that when since the parent came out with the test to denounce this act, you realize that in a few days to come, you realize things will go back to normal. Because the issue is just that we have to make these teachers or the principal of the school, whether the headmaster or not, to know that what they are doing is not correct. Sometimes they used to think that even whatsoever they are doing is correct. As a headmaster, they have the right to do whatsoever they are doing with the children or the student in school. So when the parent will come out to denounce this thing, tell them that they don't have any right to use my child in this kind of thing, which is out of the educational curriculum or whatsoever. They will adjust.
In the villages. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Noel Tamnjong. Thank you, televiewers on My Media Prime. Our time is up. Hoping that we will be here tomorrow for yet another edition of What the Papers Must Have Said. Christain Tebong was our producer for the day as usual. Gwladys Bomotonguina assisted me with the presentation. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.